I made a lot of mistakes in my 20s. By the time I turned 30, I told myself I want to make a video where I talk about all the different things that went wrong, some of my regrets, and the most important lessons I learned during my 20s. I do struggle a lot with my age sometimes. I mean, a lot of my friends are a lot younger than me. And being 30 years old, sometimes I feel like an old fart. So the first thing is you want to listen to yourself and not your parents as much. I know that when I grew up, I was really a people pleaser, especially when it came to my parents. If my parents wanted me to do something, then I would do it. I wouldn't really question it. And if my own personal desires did not intersect with theirs, then I always took their route because, like I said, I'm a people pleaser. I think that really backfired for me, and I feel like a lot of you guys watching this video, you do a lot to appease your parents. And honestly, I think a lot of you guys are doing too much. You're not listening to yourself, you're listening more to others. For me, my parents wanted me to graduate from college, get a degree in a respectable field, and pursue a traditional 9-to-5 career that, they are so familiar with. There's literally nothing in the cards about entrepreneurship or business, so I actually didn't even think that it was possible to become an entrepreneur, and that's just because I listened too closely to my parents who have really great 9-to-5 jobs, but don't really have experience with, entrepreneurship. A lot of you guys will grow up to want to live a life that's a lot different than that of your parents, and so if you think about it, it doesn't really make sense for you to always listen to your parents if they don't have the exact life that you want. When we push our own thoughts, desires, and passions away, I think that allows us to build a lot of resentment that is not necessary. So yeah, appeasing your parents, listening to them, it's a good short-term thing, but in the long term, you're gonna grow resentment. And yeah, they might not always know what the best thing for you is. And I think that's something that a lot of people in their 20s, don't think about. The second thing that really held me back in my 20s was having too many limiting beliefs. And that had a big impact on my confidence. So I think a lot of you guys watching this, you probably overthink things. You probably have a lot of limiting beliefs that are making things hard for you. And all that really comes together and has a negative impact on your confidence. Confidence is so important. I think a lot of people in their 20s struggle with confidence because they always think that other people are looking at them. They're always comparing themselves to other people. And yeah, I definitely experienced that, but the truth is that doesn't do anything for you. It's all negative and you deserve to have more confidence. So for me, when I graduated from UCLA, I was really not confident because I compared myself to my peers, all of whom got really great jobs at accounting firms, making six figures, all that stuff. I was definitely scraping by. I barely had any money. And when you compare yourself to other people that are in a different place of their journey, that's really, really bad. And so if I could go back to my early 20s, I'd basically tell myself, hey, Charlie, you're in a different place of your journey versus your friends. They all want the get a good degree, get a job straight out of college, and work a 9-to-5 job. But Charlie, you didn't do that. So you can't really compare yourself to them. Do not compare your income. Don't compare your career path, and don't compare your so-called accomplishments. Just know that if you keep going at what you're trying to do, you'll find out what your passions are, and maybe at some point in the future, you'll even exceed your friends in all those different categories. Most of you guys probably think that every time you go outside, there's some type of spotlight that's pointed directly at you, and everyone is sort of judging what you're doing. I definitely felt that way in my 20s. I even still struggle with that right now, but every single year as I'm growing older and older, that spotlight gets dimmer and dimmer until eventually someday I'm gonna realize that there was no spotlight in the first place. And the earlier you realize there's no spotlight, the more things you can do without being scared of what the outcomes are, without being scared of any judgment from others, and the higher your confidence is going to be. The next thing I tell myself is that you need to get comfortable being single. Now, I've been in relationships ever since I was 18 years old. My first relationship was about 5 years long, so that lasted until I was about, I think, 23 or 24. And after that, I got into another long-term relationship. I think it's been about 6 years now. And so I didn't really get to experience much of my 20s being single. For me, I'm just more comfortable having a partner I can rely on. It's definitely where my comfort zone lies. And so I think that's one reason why I was so scared to be alone. I basically tell myself, Charlie, you don't need to jump straight into another relationship. You need to embrace being single and see how that is going to help you grow as a person. There's really no rush to jump into a relationship. You don't need to get married. You don't need to have kids. You're young and you need to experience life without a partner. If you guys are in a long-term relationship, then that's awesome. But if you're single, then really you guys, there's no rush to jump into anything. In fact, I think that your life is probably going to be more fun. You'll do more activities. You'll get out of your comfort zone more if you stay single. So don't tie your worth to the presence of having a partner. Go out, live your life, don't settle down. And with that brings more opportunities, discomfort, as well as self-growth.